30 years, Jorge Antonio Rosa has been driving back and forth over this same stretch of road north of Rio de Janeiro. Rosa delivers eucalyptus wood from Brazil's central coast to a factory near Rio. As Rosa's truck struggled up a hill, he reflected on his years behind the wheel.
This road was full of holes. There were a lot of accidents. I lost plenty of friends along here.
Most roads in Brazil are like this one, narrow and in desperate need of repairs. Although Brazil is almost as big as the United States, it doesn't have nearly as many major highways. Simply put, driving long distances in Brazil can be a trying experience.
Most Brazilians would agree improvements to the roads have been long overdue. Still, it's about more than just a comfortable ride. Good roads are considered essential to commerce. So early last year, the Brazilian government announced an ambitious plan to make modernizing the country's aging infrastructure a top priority.
Just a few miles from where we met Rosa, workers were busy repaving the road with a soupy mixture of oil and stone. It's not the dense macadam Americans are used to seeing on their highways, but it's a start. Jorge Porcino de Moraes is the foreman.
The work here is a priority, and for the drivers it will be great. People will feel safer with all the improvements.
All this work doesn't come cheap. It's estimated it will cost Brazil $17 billion over the next couple of years to fix up the roads nationwide. Walter Hook is the executive director of the Institute for Transportation and Development Policy and an expert on Brazil's infrastructure.
In a country like Brazil, which is a big industrial economy, it really needs to get its products out to the global market and to its own cities. And good road maintenance is absolutely key to that.
Instead of footing the bill itself, the government has come up with a plan, leasing many of the country's highways to private companies. Here's how it works. In exchange for repairing and maintaining roads, private companies get to collect tolls. Brazil has already leased 1,600 miles of its most heavily traveled highways to private companies. Moraes works for one of those companies, Autopista Fluminense. Autopista controls more miles of roads here than any other company.
I think privatization helps a lot. Without it, it would take 3 or 4 years for the roads to be fixed. So privatization speeds things up.
But some fear privatization will force many Brazilians into the slow lane, literally. The tolls can be steep. We paid about $20, the average daily pay in Brazil, for the privilege of driving a few hours on one private highway. When pressed, even Moraes admitted some of his crew may not be able to afford to drive on the very road they were helping to fix. There is another road high on the government's list for improvement, the BR-101. The BR-101 leads to one of Brazil's most important ports, just south of Rio de Janeiro. This road is so congested, trucks can sit for hours waiting to drop off and pick up loads. Brazil is one of the world's fastest growing economies, but some warn it won't keep growing as long as there are scenes like this. According to a recent study by the World Bank, the Brazilian government should be doing even more to entice private companies, saying failure to do so would, quote, leave the country falling further behind its emerging market peers.
Countries like Brazil particularly need to start using pricing to manage traffic and also to use pricing to generate the money they need to maintain and to expand their infrastructure.
This trucker said he's for privatization up to a point.
Are the roads getting better? A little. But it's a lie to say they are great. With the number of tolls we have, the roads shouldn't even be dirty. We shouldn't have any problems.
Along the road, we ran into a contractor in charge of work on the BR-101. We asked whether he thought the tolls were fair. Sure, the tolls can be high, he acknowledged, but added the poor will benefit from this work too. They often take buses, and bus accidents are a big problem in Brazil. About 5 miles later, we saw a bus overturned by the side of the road. The passengers had been evacuated, and the bus didn't appear to be heavily damaged. Still, it served as an eerie reminder of the cost of bad roads. I'm Edie Magnus reporting for World Focus from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil.